distant, faint. Broken windows, open doors, mental prison, broken shelter, ravaged by the storm. Voices gather volume, screaming, panic, voices, just memories, louder they become. Voices in my head, unravel me, undone. Alone inside, sitting on the floor, memories, they flood me, too excruciating to ignore. Block the voices, scream out in rage, grip the bars and rattle the cage. Memories, hard to forget, sights and sounds, feelings, regrets, tears of laughter and of sorrow, crinkled eyes, the empty rooms, all the voices so distant, so faint, the broken windows, the open doors, boarded up, closed forevermore, the empty rooms, the hollow sounds, memories, buried beneath the ground, alone outside, unraveled, standing on the steps, never realizing how deep the depths of your memories, of who you've become because of the unraveling. Because of the unraveling, you had become undone. Emily's song Unraveling and this poem on unraveling by an anonymous poet gives us words and that feeling of how many of us are in that place these days. Unraveling, that unraveling of our sense of safety, unraveling of our sense of cohesion, of democracy, of human decency and kindness. Unraveling of what it means to work, to be a good neighbor, to be a decent citizen, to uphold the highest good. Unraveling of our families, of relationships, of public spaces, unraveling, becoming undone. All of these things are true. All of these things are palpable. We can see our fractured sense of security and safety, very well-being becoming frayed. Adrian from our staff used that word the other day and it stuck with me, frayed. Means that the fabric is mostly intact, but the edges have become torn and loosened. Of course, compared to the entirety of the world's problems, we are frayed. We are unraveled and unraveling. And so the Talmud reminds us, do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now, love mercy now, walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Or said another way by civil rights attorney and activist Florence Kennedy, you can't dump 1 cup of sugar into the ocean and expect to get syrup. If everyone sweetened her own cup of water, then things would begin to change. So, beloveds, I wonder, I'm going to put you all on gallery for a moment so I can see you. It's so weird not being able to see you all. There we go. Okay, that's so much better. Beloveds, take a moment to join me in an exercise. If you're able, raise your arms to about chest height and make a circle like this. One of my military commanders had her staff do this during an ops strategy sessions. He said, raise your arms, make a circle. This is your sphere of influence. That's it. That's it, right? You can put your hands down. Our sphere of influence. This space is how much we have control of at any given moment. not our spouses, our children, oh, heaven help me, not our children, our neighbors, our coworkers, our friends, the random driver that cuts us off in traffic. When the internet goes down, we had all sorts of tech issues this morning. Our sphere of influence is both humbling and liberating. On the one hand, we are only truly responsible for ourselves, and we can only control or influence our own behavior. And on the other hand, our humble sphere of influence means that we have tremendous power to subvert a system that oppresses others, that that tokenizes and fetishizes other human beings and the creation of this earth. We can make holy our sphere of influence. We can choose to divest our time, our energy, our resources, our money, and even our very mindset. We can divest them from systems of oppression. We have that power. In a speech to Oberlin College, and I know there's a lot of folks who went to Oberlin on the line today. In a speech to Oberlin College in 1989, Audre Lorde, the wonderful poet and leader, proclaimed, "To face the reality of our lives is not a reason for despair. Despair is a tool of your enemies. Facing the realities of our lives gives us motivation for action. For you are not powerless. You know why the hard questions must be asked. It is not altruism, it is self-preservation, it is survival." So stay with me here, beloveds. You know, it takes me wandering through the woods a little bit to make those connections. But my connection to that is you are a radical change agent because of this one powerful sphere of influence. We can all make the choice each and every day to let our lives preach louder than our lips. So I'll tell you that my soul bristles a little bit and dies a little bit when someone says that to be a Unitarian Universalist means that you can believe whatever you want. Ugh. End of story. First, it's a terrible pitch. Second, it's an incredibly limited understanding what it means to be a people of covenant and a people of principles. Yes, our 8 principles that we covenant together include making sacred the lifelong search of truth and meaning. Making sacred, asking questions, finding truth and meaning for ourselves. And that means we are called to live out that truth and meaning that frame our faith. If anything, that's a challenging and clarion call to imagination that makes living our faith, our living tradition, so vibrant and expansive. We believe in democracy, a just world, and a thriving multicultural and diverse world. Great. How are we living into that? No, really, how are we living out loving kindness, compassion, and mercy? So I'll tell you, the Holy Trickster was again at work today as I was thinking about that question. How are we living? Many of you across our faith are participating in the annual spiritual practice of UU Lent. And just Google hashtag UU Lent 2021, if you're curious. Each day during Lent, we are invited to reflect on the spiritual theme of the day and to post to social media a picture that connects with that theme. And today's spiritual theme for UU Lent is advocate. Advocate. And the picture I selected that captures for me advocate is one of my favorite workout t-shirts that says, Be the woman you needed as a girl, or be the adult you needed as a child. And I'll tell you about one woman whose life is preaching louder than her lips as an advocate, Tarana Burke, the founder of the hashtag #MeToo movement. A decade before the hashtag #MeToo movement gained national attention, activist and leader Tarana Burke quietly, and as she says, almost in secret, helped women and girls who were survivors of sexual assault and sexual harassment. She said in an interview with the magazine Black Enterprise, "There was a child in my life who I failed to say me too to when she needed it. And that stayed with me for a very long time. I don't have the experience. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a counselor. But what I am is a survivor. And I have at least the knowledge of what I would have needed when I was that age." And thus, hashtag #MeToo was born, created as a way for young women of color to share their stories. Burke began using the phrase "Me Too" to promote the idea of empowerment through empathy. Her campaign was not only designed to facilitate healing, but she also wanted to train survivors to work in communities of color to further the good. Tarana Burke took her pain, took her regret, and moved towards action as a part of her healing, as a part of building towards the good. And that's how we weave together the torn fabric of our lives. Beloved, my beloved family, let's do some weaving here in this space this morning. So if you want to go old school and find a piece of paper and a pencil, or grab your device that you may take notes on, I invite you to reflect with me and to write a few things down. First is, what is required to live a values-centered life? What does it mean to let your lives preach louder than your lips? And the framework, or the top of that, I would humbly offer you, there are three things: honesty, curiosity, and humility. That's where we start. We start with honesty, curiosity, and humility. Humility provides the space for us to be curious about how we are showing up in the world, with our families, with our loved ones, at work, and in our communities. Humility asks us to be curious about how privilege and power are framing our relationships. Curiosity gives us the space to explore new ways of being, asking those holy, hard questions about what's truly important. How can we truly feed the good and starve the bad? And honesty. And honesty. Oh my gosh, I love you, Larissa. Look at that. She's typing notes as I'm sharing. Thank you, Larissa. That honesty, that radical self-honesty, requires that we take a pause and reflect on why we are making the choices we are making. Where are our hurts? Where is our heart? And what is keeping us either stuck or hiding, or what leads us to make that next move? So if you have that piece of paper handy or something that you take notes on, take a moment to maybe write down humility, creativity, humility, curiosity, and honesty at the top. And then let's ponder together. What are our core values? What are your core values? Really and truly. You can think of maybe 3 or 4 or 5. Author and leader Teo Roxon outlines the ABCs of core values. And I'll give you a few as you ponder that may spark an insight or a connection. The ABCs of core values: abundance, acceptance, accountability; balance, belongingness, benevolence; calmness, caring, challenge; daring, decisiveness, dedication; empathy, enthusiasm, equality; fairness, family, friendship; generosity, grace, and gratitude; hard work, happiness, honesty; impact, inclusivity, independence; joy, justice, kindness, knowledge; leadership, love; mindfulness, motivation, neatness, nurturing; optimism, originality; passion, perseverance; reliability, resilience; simplicity, service; thankfulness, thoughtfulness; understanding, uniqueness, valor, vision, warmth, wisdom, and zeal. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? The ABCs of core values. So maybe a few of those kind of sparked like, ooh, what does it mean to live a life of zeal? What does it mean to live a life of valor, of honesty, of empathy, enthusiasm? So when we decide what values frame our lives, we move and we love and we live from those core values, and our lives preach louder than our lips. Theo Robinson created a little mini list, those 5 values, and they spell for him those core values: BAID, B-A-I-D-E, belonging, accessibility, inclusion, diversity, and equity. And you may hear underneath those are justice-oriented values as well. So we don't just stop there. Each of those core values are for our sphere of influence. And if others have noticed in the chat, those spheres of influences align together in beloved community. A values-centered life isn't just for our own good, it's towards our collective liberation, for the good of all people and for generations to come. As I was thinking about this, I remembered something delightful and wonderful that happened a few years ago. Remember crowded airports? Does anyone remember a crowded airport and flights getting delayed and hanging out at the terminal for hours? Well, that happened to me a couple years ago. And I was sitting there frustrated, and it was a long day. Whew. And as the passengers were sitting all around me, and instead of huffing on my phone, I started to watch this parent and their child. And it was magical. It was magical. The parent was so present. Have you ever watched parents and their children? They were so present, playing on the floor together. The child was probably 8 or 9. They played games, they drew pictures, they told stories. And I noticed this child probably dressed themselves because their socks were 2 different colors and they were wearing zebra stripes on top and stripes and polka dots on the bottom, and half their hair was purple and the other one had green tips. It was wonderful. This child was living their best life. But not just that, their parent was with them. As the hours passed, I was astonished watching these two interact. I was completely enchanted. The love and that parent's delight in their child was just so palpable. That parent was so clearly living their core values. His life was preaching so loud in that moment, and it was truly breathtaking. So I see some folks have been posting in the chat your core values, and I invite you to do and continue to do so. As we ponder this day, to how to let our lives preach louder than our lips. I will close with the call to persistence, because that is another part of curiosity, honesty, and being a present to a value-centered life. That call to persistence from W.E.B. Du Bois. The prayer of our souls. The prayer of our souls is a petition for persistence, not for the one good deed or one thought, a single thought, but deed upon deed and thought upon thought, until day calling unto day shall make a life worth living. Amen. Blessed be. And may your lives preach louder than your lips.